Dementia is 100% fatal. It doesn't show up as the cause of death on a lot of death certificates, but it can, and is certainly a comorbidity in lots of other deaths. You have to survive a lot of things that can happen to you during the process of dementia, in order for that to be the cause of death. But a lot of these are not as likely to happen, if you didn't have dementia. In the early stages, there is death by misadventure. Accidents such as setting the house on fire, or getting lost outside on a cold night claim dementia victims. It is possible to die of hypothermia in your home when the power has been disconnected, because you've forgotten to pay the bill, and don't remember to put a sweater on when you are cold. People are usually admitted to facilities after such near misses. Others are admitted after they do not recover from another medical problem, such as a hip fracture or severe illness. Dementia robs its victims of the ability to adapt to changes in situations, and learn new things. They simply cannot learn how to take medications, use a walker, or keep oxygen on. Eventually dementia patients lose the ability to walk, and not necessarily from an injury. They will have a period of frequent falls. In a nursing home, there will be several rounds of physical therapy with decreasing effectiveness. The dementia patient eventually just quits walking and propelling their wheelchair. This corresponds with losing continence of bladder, then bowel, and being able to dress and feed themselves. Speech and understanding are also fading fast at this point. Patients at this stage are vulnerable to head injuries from falls, pressure ulcers with infections, and blood clots from decreased mobility, leading to death by stroke or pulmonary embolism. Illnesses such as urinary sepsis are harder to detect at early stages, as the patient cannot complain of painful urination and can present suddenly with full-blown septicemia. If a dementia patient lives to this point, they are dependent for all mobility, dressing, bathing, and incontinences care. They are unable to communicate, they may vocalize at random, but are usually very quiet. They need to be fed every bite of every meal. In the final stage of dementia, they lose the ability to swallow and any desire to eat or drink. Force feeding, or vomiting will likely result in aspiration, when fluids are not swallowed, but instead flow down the trachea and into the lungs, causing pneumonia. Cause of death at this point depends on the doctor, who can choose from failure to thrive, aspiration pneumonia, or dementia. So wouldn't a feeding tube save them? No. Stomachs shrink, peristalsis slows down, regurgitation or vomiting is inevitable, with aspiration pneumonia resulting. That's if you can persuade a surgeon, an anesthesiologist to put in a feeding tube on a patient who is that debilitated and likely to code on them during surgery. Allowing a dementia patient to die naturally usually results in a quiet, peaceful death. Any signs of pain or anxiety can be managed by hospice care. Death by pneumonia is more distressing with the struggle to breathe. Death by multi-system failure, with infected pressure ulcers, rotting limbs from impaired circulation, prolonged by feeding tubes and IVs, is a horror. Death is not the worst thing that can happen to you, especially if you have dementia. Alzheimer's disease, Alzheimer's, an ultimately fatal form of dementia, is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States. However, evidence suggests that Alzheimer's deaths reported on death certificates might be underestimates of the actual number of Alzheimer's deaths in the United States. Because cases were identified using the underlying cause of death, persons with Alzheimer's but a non-Alzheimer's underlying cause of death were not identified in this analysis. Second, complications from Alzheimer's, such as pneumonia, might be reported as the cause of death, although the actual underlying cause of death, Alzheimer's, was not reported on the death certificate. Finally, a person with Alzheimer's might have dementia assigned as the underlying cause of death, rather than a more specific diagnosis of Alzheimer's. Thanks for watching our video. Make sure you subscribe to receive more video related to dementia, dementia care, dementia medication, and many other everyday health and fitness. Thank you so much for watching.